Well, hello there, and welcome again to another Artist of the Week. This week's featured artist is Skyfries, the moderator of the blog Ask Spirit. How are you doing today, Sky?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Gendid?
I'm doing very well. But Skyfries has come out today, and he's agreed to answer some questions for us. And so, without further ado, let's get right on into this. The first question I have here for you is, how long have you been into art?
I've been into it since high school, really. I just started out just sketching little things that I've seen from comic books and video game magazines and things like that, and it pretty much grew from there. I mean, I wasn't as into it for a while. Like, I got back into computers and video games and that sort of thing because that's my main priority and what I really started with. But eventually down the road, I started to just remember how much I actually loved to do the art and to do the drawing. And from there, it just grew.
Hmm. How did you learn
So,
it? Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. But I guess I would say probably, I'm going to say 10 to 15 years, somewhere around that. I can't remember exactly.
Or that's how long you've been doing art?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you learn how to create it? Have you had any formal training or anything like that?
I have had some formal training. Actually, when I was back in high school, what I did was instead of going to high school the traditional route, I went into a vocational school where I learned commercial art. And from that point on, what I did was I ended up going into a community college and I studied art there. They had more of the technical side of things where I was learning the different types of programs like Photoshop and various other things. And then I eventually went on to my actual university where I learned more so the traditional end of art and also some of the business behind it.
Hmm. And would you recommend schooling to those who haven't gone out or gone out and done so already?
I really think that it's different for every single person because I've known so many people in my life who have gone completely different routes. I just recently met up with one of my friends who was in the Army Air Force, and he tried to go to college for, uh, sorry, he tried to go to college for just criminal background and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
However, it did not work out for him. Instead, he ended up doing a little bit of construction before eventually entering into the Army, where he just feels much more suited to that type of role. So college really necessarily is for everyone. It is very stressful over there, and you have to have the time and the dedication to do it. But if this is really what you love, I probably would suggest it.
All right, good advice. I guess moving on a little bit. How did you get into pony art? When did that start?
That started probably last summer. What happened was it was just a fun time, actually. Well, not really. During that during that time, our family was going through a very rough patch. So pretty much what's been happening was every other week, it was like another thing that was happening to our family, literally another funeral or something else like that. And it was just, our family kind of slipped into a whole entire fit of depression there for a while. So I was just busy just biding my time and going on to 4chan and just looking at some of the art there. I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. And I really wasn't into it at the time until finally they mentioned, oh, hey, there's some live streams that are happening. So I ended up going for the live stream and just seeing the different artists and what they did. And it was kind of nice the first time around. It wasn't that big. It was only like 10 or so people there. So I figured, you know what, I'll just go ahead and do it again. And eventually down the road, I started to meet more and more people until they finally got me off my butt and got me going with pony art.
Hmm. Now, how did Ask Spirit come out of that? What was your inspiration behind the Ask Tumblr?
The Ask Tumblr, that was primarily... hmm, what happened with that Tumblr was I had just finished up Soul to Robo, which was a game that involved kind of like flying and that sort of thing. And I've always been into aviation and various things, and not only that, but it's a big facet of many different movies that I watch, like Miyazaki's work and various others. And I've just always liked the idea of just having kind of like an aviator type of character. But then something happened, and it was like, well, why would they be an aviator? So I kind of sat there on the idea for a while, not really thinking too much about it, until finally one day I'm just driving down the road and thinking about a TV show, and it's like, man, that was a really gruesome scar that guy got. And then all of a sudden, that's it. That's what I can do. Uh, and I pretty much came up with the idea that she was originally a Pegasus, and she lost her wing, and that's why that she needed a plane in order to fly. Now, also part of that too was just I was trying to use the Pixar way of doing storytelling from that point on, because it actually made more sense as I was getting into it. Usually when Pixar introduces a story, they'll introduce the main character, they'll show him at his high point, what he likes to do, what he's interested in, and then suddenly something happens which completely changes that person's perspective, and they have to go through a series of events in order to get back to their happy spot again.
What plans do you have for the Tumblr? What is the future of Spirit?
There's a few different things that I am planning for Spirit. I do have a few more collabs that will be happening in the upcoming future, and I'm trying to get those out the window as soon as I can. The next thing, though, is I know that I haven't mentioned too much about the story of Spirit and just the things behind her, because she has lost a wing, and one of the main questions that I get on Ask Blog almost 24/7 is, what has happened to her wing? Why isn't it there? So eventually I plan to inject story down the road, but I don't think that people have asked enough of the right questions. It's more so like fun times right now. So I'm just trying to let them direct the blog in the direction that it's supposed to go right now, rather than force it way too much.
Well, that actually brings up a bit of an interesting point. How much of the how much of the story do you kind of direct yourself, and how much do you let the viewers direct? How much influence do your Tumblr followers have on your Tumblr?
I try to take a look at all the questions and see which questions would fit more to what I would like to do next. I mean, I've had some questions that have actually sat there for perhaps the longest time, and then eventually down the road, I take another look at that question again, and suddenly, oh, this will work perfect in this sort of area, or this next thing that I'm about ready to do. So really, I just try to find the best questions for that point in time in order to just make everything flow correctly.
All right. Stepping away from Spirit for a little bit, how have ponies affected your life in general, just
I,
outside of art?
well, like I mentioned before, I was in a depressing spot before, and during that time, I didn't know exactly what to do. I was not doing any sort of art whatsoever, and I was just slinking farther and farther down the hole. And it's just one of those things where you just run into something, and then suddenly, oh my word, it's like a dawn of a new day and everything else like that. And the funny thing was that I didn't originally think about joining up with Pony Art or doing anything else like that. I was just doing my side art, which was a lot of video game related stuff. And then all of a sudden, one day out of the blue, I got a Skype call from someone after showing my art off in one of the Pony streams. And all of a sudden, it's like I'm interconnected with 20 to 30 people who are all right there, ready to go. I mean, it's just nice to have a group of people that I am able to bounce ideas off of and also get their feedback on various things aside from just pony art alone.
All right. The who've been you talk about collaborations and that sort of thing. Who've been your favorite artists to work with so far?
Uh, they're all big good for various different things. And when I first started out, I actually talked a lot to Slugbox, who he gave me like a lot of different technical stuff, which I completely had forgotten over time, and he kind of caught me up to 21st century. And then right after him, I also worked a lot with Will Draw for Food and just his various things. Because what happened was when I first got Spirit started, she really didn't have too much of a foot in since came in kind of late into the game. And he gave that first push for her to get started from there. And then after that, I did various other collaborations for Spitfire and Ask Surprise and various other things on that blog. And there are a few more that are coming up very shortly. I can't reveal what they are yet, but they are coming.
All right.
And yeah.
Well, excellent, excellent. So you said you have a few hobbies. You like video games, correct?
Yes, I like video games a lot. I haven't had time to play them that often, no. It's been more of, okay, I want to try to do more art today and everything else like that, because just the video games has been like a major time waster for me. But
Mm-hmm.
I do actually play a lot more of just the independent games that friends have sent me online and things like that as of late, but I do like certain things that have come out recently, like Mass Effect, and I played some of the Metroid games and various other things like that. But one of the other big things that I always like, and this is during wintertime, is going to a video game convention called MagFest. And pretty much it's the music and gaming convention that's down in Washington, D.C., and it is a ton of fun. We had a lot of Pony fans that were there last year dressed up. We even had a Princess Luna who was with a Wheatley down there from Portal. So that was a lot of fun. And just everybody that you could want to meet down there that's related to music and video games, you'll find down there. We had Nobuo Uematsu, who did the Final Fantasy series, who played down there last year, various other bands and cover bands that are down there, Proto Men, and it's just a really great time. It's like a second family that's down there, pretty much. And then other than that, video games also play a big part as far as just how the music brings out inspiration in me and just the various designs that they do, because just when I think that, oh, they can't come up with anything else, it's like suddenly, I would have never thought of that. That's amazing. And it's like they find a way to ramp it up to the bazillion percent. Just like it's like, oh yeah, there's God of War and everything else like that. Nobody else can do something like that. And then all of a sudden, Azura's Rage comes out. It's like times a bazillion as far as how big and epic the scale is. So I'm amazed by what they can do.
All right, cool. So we talked about, or we talked a little bit about the future of Spirit. Were there any other future projects that you can tell us about?
Uh, I don't really have any real future projects that are planned at the moment. I would like to get attached to a few different projects, and I've kind of thrown some ideas around and things like that, but nothing has really stuck at this point. I know that on DeviantArt and everywhere else like that, it's hard to show some of my mature art and things like that, so I have been contemplating doing a more mature Tumblr, but that hasn't really taken off the ground yet. But hopefully something will take off in the future and I will be able to just do more things, not only for the community, but for various other things that are art related as well.
All right. What's your favorite project that you've ever worked on?
My favorite project that I've worked on, I'm going back to video games again just for a few seconds. I actually have a friend named DJ Cutman who does a lot of different remixes and related things, and I met him via MagFest, and he asked me to do one of his album covers for his CD, and just being able to do that, have that kind of interconnection, because thanks to him, I've also met so many other people, and just whenever I see him again, I know I'm going to have a good time, because he'll be there remixing music on the spot for me, and just we're all having a good time.
And the final question I'd like to ask you here is what advice would you give to other artists, new artists who are just trying to start out?
As far as new artists starting out, I would say the best thing that you could probably do is put yourself out there for the audience, just your whole entire heart and soul, and just find a way that you can actually connect with your audience. If you can find a way in order to do that, no matter what type of art you have, no matter if you're a beginner or anything else like that, you'll be able to bring them back and want them to see more. Because, I mean, you can have the best art in known existence, but if you can't get the audience to just feel that feeling of you'll just lose them immediately.
All right, good advice. Well, Sky, that's all the questions I have here for you today. Was there anything else you'd like to leave the audience with?
Not really. I would just say that whatever you're doing, just keep trying the best you can to do whatever it is that you'd like to do.
All right. Well, inspiring words. Again, Sky, I'd just like to thank you for your time, and thanks for coming out here today.
No problem.
Yeah, no problem at all.